So this week we're going to be making some fried date wontons. So this is a pretty simple recipe. It's dates, walnuts, orange rind, and 5-spice powder. So 5-spice powder you can usually find at the store. This I just found at the normal grocery store. If you have it, it is just equal parts anise seeds, fennel, cinnamon, cloves, and pepper. So that's all you need for that. So if you can't find it, you can get it online, or you can combine those and then measure out what you need. So for this, we need 4.5 ounces or a cup of walnuts. These should be finely chopped. The best I can get is halves and pieces at the store, so I'm going to actually use a food processor to get them more finely ground. Alright, that should be good. And we're going to be adding that to a pound of dates. So I got these chopped. If you get them whole, make sure you pit them and before you chop them. But the pre-cut ones will typically be covered in like a dextrose. That'll be fine because we're going to knead this all together. And you can see they still they mash up pretty well still. To all this, what we're going to do is we need a small amount, only about 1/4 ounce or 2 tablespoons of orange rind that's been finely grated. You can get a grater to do this. I have a zester, so what I'll do is, if you don't have a grater but you do have a zester, you can get strips and then cut those up on a cutting board. What I'm going to do is get something to measure this in, so I know when I'm there. These are just navel oranges. Just look for oranges that have a nice orange color, that aren't yellow still. That'll help give a better flavor to the rind that you're going to use. So that one orange was almost good enough. I'm just going to do a little bit more of a second orange, so when I cut it up, if I lose any as I'm mincing it, it'll be alright. Make up for it. So there. Should be good. And then the 5-spice powder, we only need about a quarter teaspoon. And what we're going to do here is we're going to knead this until it forms a ball. Essentially a workable filling. So part of this is going to be breaking up these dates as we go. You may need to add some water to this because the dates, if you cut them up yourself, they'll be a little bit more moist. And this can use a little bit of water, but you don't want to overdo it because you don't want too much water inside the filling that you're putting inside the wontons. feeling pretty good. I'm going to add a little bit more water, and that'll bring me to 3 tablespoons total water. Or 3 teaspoons. And you may need less than that, than 3 teaspoons, just because the dates that I'm using have that coating that we kind of have to counteract in order to get to this point. Okay, got a nice worked filling there, and we'll wash my hands and then move on to filling the wontons. Be kind of tucking it in, getting a roll in, and folding the sides over before finishing the roll. Not pressing too hard, you don't want to puncture it, but that'll give me a nice small dessert. And the amount that I'm grabbing here is probably like about a teaspoon. You just get a feel for it as you're working the actual wrapper, how much will fit. These are sealing rather nicely. What I'm doing, so instead of rolling into the cylinder entirely, what I'm doing is kind of forming it into a log and then kind of tucking the ends. That way I can do the rolling in one go. And you just keep going until you either run out of filling or run out of wrappers before you move on to the frying portion of preparing these. So you can see we got through almost all of it. Made one full package of wontons. And so I'm just letting the oil get up to 375 before I start. Do probably about 3 or 4 of these at a time. They're rather small. And in the back here I've got some paper towels down on top of the drying rack to absorb the oil as they come off of out of the fryer. Alright, we've gone to 375. I'm going to use these. So I have a couple that tore as I was making them, so I'm going to save those for last. That way, if they release filling into the oil, it's not going to splatter as much the whole time. I'm doing 4 of these at a time, and you just need, there's no particular amount of time for these. You just want to get them golden brown and then pull them out. And if you're going to use the tongs to put them in and pick them up, one thing that I do is I'll recommend you grab it and then hold it, because you don't want to drip the oil all over the ones that are waiting to be done. The oil will soak into the wrapper. See, these are pretty quickly browning. You don't want to get them too dark. Just let them drip. Pull them to the paper towels. I do have my splatter screen on hand in case anything breaks out and kind of goes crazy. It doesn't look like it's dropping the temperature too much, so I'm going to put in a little bit more at a time. So I'm going to do 5 and see how the temperature holds up. The main concern is just to not let the temperature of the oil drop too much, because that slows down how many of the batches you can do in between, the time in between as it heats back up. This filling is heavy enough that they're going to stay at the bottom. They're going to stay sunken, so you won't be able to really see very well. You're going to have to grab them every now and then and check. Let the oil come back up to temperature to do more of these. The last step on these before service is to dust them with powdered sugar. Now you want to make sure they don't necessarily have to be cooled yet, but you want to make sure that they aren't wet from the oil still, because that'll result in the powdered sugar soaking into the actual roll. And with that, they're all set.